Seth, thanks for doing this. And I know I can speak on behalf of all the media how appreciative we are the way you handle us all season and especially through these playoffs. The question I have for you is we saw how these Sabres really expectations are ramped up quite a bit from the way they played this year. And you guys have played 6 playoff series and won 4 in Rochester the last 2 years. Right from development camp, a month or so from now, how ramped up is everything in this organization going to be in terms of expectations, goals, and just how you continue to go through the process based on everything that's happened here the last few months?
Well, yeah. First of all, thank you for your comment, and thank you to all of you for covering us. And the great coverage that we got throughout the season, especially in the playoffs, which led to just insane crowds at Blue Cross Arena, which was a lot of fun and a special experience for our players. So, the expectations. I don't think anybody's expectations outside from the media or the fans are higher than the expectations that we have from within. And that starts from Kevin right down through our organization. And it's not like we're going to do this year, that year. But we have high expectations in terms of where we're taking our organization, about how we conduct our business on a daily basis, about how we treat each other, about the demands that we place on our players on a daily basis so they get better. And I think that Donnie, myself, Kevin, Jason, a lot of the people at the top of our organization are all aligned. And when you do things like that the right way, consistently over and over, results end up following.
And the one other thing I wanted to ask in the wake of the series is, the Hershey series was a very different series than the other two, largely because of their style, their size, their experience. You lose the series, but how valuable was that series for your guys, do you think? Because that was such a different way to play hockey, and they probably took a lot out of that.
Yes, I think all 3 series are different. Syracuse was a mix with a lot of high-end skill, but old school physicality. Toronto was more firepower and offense and high pace, and then Hershey was pretty violent and heavy and physical. And what I liked is obviously we handled the challenges of the first 2 series, but I think we handled the challenge. We didn't win this series, but we didn't back down in this series. I mean, I think if we would have played this series in December, I think we'd probably lose 4-0. I don't think that some of our younger, smaller forwards would have been ready for the level of physicality that this series presented. And what we did is in this series, we gave ourselves a chance to win every game. Now, we're not happy with it. I'm still bitterly disappointed because I felt we probably deserved a better fate last night. But even in the games we lost, we did a lot of good things and we gave ourselves a chance to win. And I also like that how well we defended. I think everybody talked in this series about how well Hershey defended, and our offense is very good and Hershey's defense is very good. So I understand the storylines. But I don't think our team defense got enough credit as the season went on for how good we became and the fact that we could win hard-fought, low-scoring games with a team as young as we were.
Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
Hey, Coach, just going off of Mike's comments, again, thank you for your openness and pleasure covering this team. So thanks again for that. You always talk about how when we've talked, I remember last offseason at the golf tournament, that culture is constantly being developed and you constantly have to be working at it. Doesn't it feel, though, that the last 2 postseason runs have kind of been tentpoles to what you guys can base the future moving forward, or is it still starting all over again in a few months?
Yeah, it's a good question. You don't have to start all over again because there is a foundation now that we've built over the last 3 years. And I don't think that it's based on the playoff runs. I think the playoff runs are a public showing of what we've been doing privately behind the scenes for the 3 years leading up to it. That's just a proving ground. And it's a big proving ground, and it's on the biggest stage. So it is important. But I think that culture is always evolving. I do believe strongly that if you feel your culture is set, you're going to lose it very quickly. And you have to fight for it every single day. and you have to be very intentional about how you go about it. The decisions you make, the things I say to my players, the things I say to my staff, how we speak to each other, how we treat each other, who we sign this offseason to be culture drivers for our young players. All of those things are very important factors in creating the culture that we've been able to fight for here, which is, I mean, you guys have seen it. It's been very positive. It's a place the guys love being. It's competitive as heck. It's a place they come to work and get better every day, but they love each other and they support each other at the same time. And it's not easy to create, and we don't take it for granted. And we're going to be very intentional with all of our decisions moving forward to make sure we keep fighting for it.
You talk about that you've built this culture that guys are excited to be here and all of those things. I know you won't pat yourself on the back, but how proud are you of yourself to be able to build that and build this here that wasn't here for quite some time before you got there? Or is it still too early to process that?
It's a fair question. I just have never looked at those things in terms of me. It's not about me. It's about the group. And so I'm proud of our group. I'm not proud of myself. I'm proud of our group. I'm proud of what this group fought to become. I've said it many times. This success was not preordained for this group. There was times in December, January even, where as a coaching staff, we were, worried because we didn't have the team all the way where we need them to be, and we knew we needed a lot of work to go. Last year's team was set up for better success. What happened last year was the lineup got decimated with call-ups and injuries and things of that nature. So what made last year's group special was the perseverance through just months and months of not real strong American League lineups to get to where we got to. What made this group special is the growth that we had to go through to go from being a pretty easy team to play against in November, December, to being a team that was really hard to play against come March, April, May, June.
And one last thing for me. How long, I guess I was wondering if you got any sleep last night, and what point how long do you play the coulda, woulda, shoulda game? Because, like you said last night, you thought you were the better team. And how long does that linger of going coulda, woulda, shoulda in that game?
I thought we deserved better last night. I don't know if I'm saying we're the better team. It was a hard-fought series, and Hershey's a really good team, very old team, and I got a ton of respect for them. So, I try, as I've gotten older in my coaching career, to not go through that process as much because it's not really positive, and it usually leaves you living in the past. It leaves you sometimes a little bitter and frustrated. And I think it's important to learn from the experiences you go through, both as a coach individually, but then our team collectively, but then move forward and not sit there and beat yourself up on it. And I'm still very, very torn up about the loss because we were right there, and you felt like we were capable of winning a Calder Cup. But at the same time, I'm also incredibly proud of what this group became and how far they took us.
Thanks again, Coach, and congrats on a hell of a season.
Thanks, Dan.
Go ahead, Donna. You're muted, Donna.
Don, I can't hear you.
I didn't unmute it. It had unmuted it. I didn't want to hear my voice, I guess, today. Anyway, you hear me now, all right? Okay. Great job, Coach, as always. It's as I look at where you started at the beginning of the year with 4 teenagers and the young team and the growth in that, and to make it to the Final Four, that's an incredible accomplishment. I don't know that you give yourself enough credit for what's gone on here, but just an outstanding job.
Thank you, Donnie, and it's a pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate everything you do for our team and our organization. So, like I said earlier, like we're really proud. I mean, it's not what we wanted. I said that last night. It's not the banner we wanted, but we're proud of the North Division Championship. We're proud of what we've become. Like you mentioned, the teenagers. You know, we had we were down to 10 forwards last night, and two of your three centers are teenage centers in the Calder Cup Eastern Conference Finals, and so the guys did a lot of good stuff.
I talked with Jason a little bit ago about this, and that's the young guys get a whole lot of credit, a whole lot of mention in that, but and I know you do a great job of talking about guys like Mersch and that, but the older guys, their playing accomplishments on the ice, not only teaching the youngsters, but guys like Yops and Pilot and some of the guys, you had to be pretty happy with their performances.
Yeah, very happy. Something we take great pride in here as a coaching staff is making our players better, practicing and training in a way where individual players are getting better, not just our prospects, not just our teenagers. And so for guys like, Joe Ciccone and Mason Yopst and Davies and Pilot, like a lot of these guys have had career years, Michael Mersch last year, in the last 2 years, a lot of our veterans, a lot of guys that, the common thought is that guys at that age, they're not getting that much better. I think have gotten a lot better and have improved their game. That's translated to the score sheet or to their performance. And like it did last year with some guys still with us, some guys in other places. For the veterans, for the prospects, they're trying to earn their right to be NHL players. For the veterans, it's going to earn them more money and better contracts, either with us or in other situations. And that's something we're really proud of as a coaching staff is making our players better to make their careers better.
And again, the coaching staff, we talk about the coaches, we talk about the players and that, but I'm in I guess, a fortunate position where I can see a whole lot of what goes on in the background. And it takes a tremendous support group to put all this together. And the guys that don't get mentioned, like your medical, your equipment, your strength, your video people, the support group you have, it's a great group, isn't it?
Yeah, when I refer to my coaching staff, I'm not just talking about Webby and Pex. That is Amir, that's Anthony Gady, that's Steggy, that's Carl, that's Nick Craven, our strength coach, that's Michael and Kedron, our trainers, that's Snacks. So you go on, and all of it, one or two pieces that aren't in order, or if they're not doing their job in their interaction with the players, that the culture can get chipped away because you lose the players' trust because of how you're dealing with them in one area, whether that's marketing, media relations, everything. And we just have so much, we have such a high level of professionalism and care for how we go about interacting with our players that it rubs off on the guys, and it makes my job a lot easier.
One last question. As you look, and I know it's a little early for this, but I'll ask the question anyway. As you look toward next year, is there just an area of on-ice play that you want to see the most improvement in for next season?
That's a hard one to answer at this early. That's more for a debrief kind of in the off season and diving into looking at different things, especially in the playoffs. You're so focused on winning and adjustments against that opponent. You're less looking at that question. So that'd be a hard thing for me to answer right now. That'd be something I'll have to dig into as we go through the off season.
Okay, I'll apologize for asking the question. Great job again, Coach. Outstanding year.
Thanks, Tom.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, Seth. Well, first off, thanks for everything you do. And I guess the first question is, we talk all the time about players and how they handle the emotions and all the ups and downs of the playoffs and a hockey season in general. How does a coach like yourself manage those emotional highs and lows?
I run. That's the reality for me. I think perspective, having family, and so, trying to, as much as you can, the things that your daughters and my wife are doing, and whether that's success or failures they're having in their own athletic lives or their own personal lives. And so that's a welcome distraction that is important. But like I said first, for me, there's nothing that works better for me to clear my mind, to calm me down, or to put me in a good spot mentally than going for a long run and maybe chasing away some of the demons and getting the head straight before you get back with your team.
How do you think you've maybe grown or changed as a coach, coming into the pro game 3 years ago and to where you are now?
It's a good question. I don't know if I've changed that much. I think I grew a ton. I'm sure I've grown a ton here too. But I think I grew a ton in my time at USA. I just think that place is it allows for a lot of experimentation, and it's like a hockey think tank a little bit. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think if you look at it the right way, you can go through a lot of growth as a coach there. And I honed in on a lot of things that we've done here in my time there. Not to say I didn't grow in my years in college, I did. But definitely probably honed in more in my time at the national program. So, and then I think here it's probably been more growth in terms of, believing that you could coach, grown men, believing that wouldn't be an issue, but you don't know until you do it.
Yeah.
And then going through playoff series, something that, I had faith in our staff that we could be successful in playoff series, but I hadn't done that a lot in my career. In college, the playoff series are best 2 out of 3, and with the U.S. national program, it's usually single elimination type situations. So, going through long, grueling playoff series, having the capacity and the willingness to make changes in a playoff series and things of that nature, I think that there's been a lot of growth for me in those areas.
Is there anything about the pro business coaching wise, or maybe even just the business in general, that surprised you? Maybe it wasn't what you expected when you came in.
I think that one of the things that maybe prevented me from jumping pro earlier in my career was how much I value the mentorship side of coaching and the relationships. And you certainly have a lot of that in college. You had a ton of it at the U.S. program. And I kind of wondered if you'd have as much of that. And I am, those are things that motivate me and drive me, is trying to help make our players' lives better and their careers better. And I didn't know, how that would be in pro. Obviously, having friends like Blash and Coop and Derek Lalonde and stuff go through it before me, I got to see that does exist. But that's probably been surprising from my time here, is the relationships you can create with, whether they're young prospects or grown men with families. And they're just as rewarding, if not more, than they are with the young kids you got to coach in college or at USA. So I think that's been surprising and very rewarding.
And just last thing for me, maybe 10, 20 years from now, when you sit back and you think back on this year's team, what's a memory or two that might stick with you from this group?
It's a good question. A memory or two. I think certainly two things that pop into my mind immediately. One would be winning Game 5 on the road in Syracuse when our fans were insane in a road game. And we probably had 1,000 Rochester fans, and they're chanting "Let's go Amerks" before the game started. You had chills in the locker room hearing those chants 40 minutes before the game started. So that's one that resonates strongly with me, because that signified certainly to me that this team had gotten the city to fall in love with them and reinvigorated the fan base. And then probably the second one would have been finishing the sweep against Toronto at home in front of our home crowd, sold out just whipped up into a frenzy. I think it was a Wednesday night, which is crazy that we sold out on a Wednesday night. So those are probably the two in terms of memories. What I'll think about with the team the most is how much better they got and their willingness to attack areas of the game we weren't good enough in and become a really good hockey team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.